It wasn't pretty. It was sloppy at times, but 4-2 going into the bye sounds pretty damn good to me.
Before we get into today's video, guys, I just want to give a special shout out to today's sponsors, starting with Gold Fine and Bowles, lawyers for the injured. Personal injury, workers' compensation, those are their two things, but any sort of legal advice, they're the people to call. Give them a phone call, 309 673 5144. Tell them we sent you, okay? And I'd also like to shout out SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video as well. Use promo code PlayBookSports on their website to get $20 off your first purchase of $30 or more. Let's get back to the video.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video here with the Playbook Sports Podcast. I'm Colin coming at you with the Dallas Cowboys Week 6 recap after their Monday night victory in Los Angeles against the Los Angeles Chargers. Wasn't a very convincing win, in my opinion, but Dallas did just enough to outlast Justin Herbert and the Chargers team. Rough start for Dallas. They got the ball first, couple runs go nowhere, and then a sack on third down, followed by a great punt return by the Chargers, sets them up in short territory. They march right on down and score, and you're thinking, oh, here we go again. Dallas last week, trailing most of the game early as well. Can they bounce back? Can they answer these scores, or are they just going to roll over and suffer defeat? They marched right back down first on that Chargers drive. It's tough because the Chargers weren't penalized a whole lot in the first half, at least in the beginning of the first half. It seemed like everything was going against Dallas. But the Chargers got a legal shift, first and 15. Okay, good punt return to Dallas's 40, back them up 5 yards. Next play, Austin Ekeler takes a little screen about 30 yards inside Dallas's 10-yard line. Sloppy play, a little bit of boost of enthusiasm. Okay, back them up, back them up, back them up. And then here comes a big play to get them first and goal inside the 10. Not a great start for Dallas. However, Dak Prescott answered on that second possession, going for it on fourth and short, running at 18 yards for a touchdown. And it's something as the play was happening, it was like, please let Dak keep this. Please run the option because those edges are crashing. Dak has not been as mobile or as big of a threat with his legs since about his second or third year in the league. He's really gone away from running after, suffering that leg injury against the Giants a couple years ago, rightfully so. So let's get into some of the stats here to recap the game. Let's look at the team stats first. And looking at the team stats here, they're really even going right down the line. Dallas had 20 first downs in the game. The Chargers had 18. They both only had 5 third down conversions. Dallas was 5 of 13. The Chargers were 5 of 14. So both were pretty bad on third down last night. Dallas ran 61 plays of offense. The Chargers ran 61 plays of offense. Dallas had 70 more yards, having 342 total in the game to the Chargers 272. Both teams had 10 drives. Dallas had a little bit more passing, a little bit more rushing. Only 53 rushing for the Chargers offense. That's pretty darn good for the Cowboys to keep them under. But shockingly, Dallas themselves came out with 96 yards rushing, and Dak Prescott was the leading rusher with 40 yards in the game. Tony Pollard, what's up, man? 15 carries for 30 yards is not going to do it. And the Chargers, let's be honest, doesn't have that stout of a front seven as some of these other teams are going to face down the stretch here. 15 and 30 is not going to do it for you. Looking at both teams here, they both were 2 of 4 in the red zone, 2 touchdowns and 4 red zone trips. Both got stuffed on fourth and short. Dallas went for a little tush push there, got stood up. And then the Chargers went for a little rollout. Deron Bland could have had a pick in the end zone, but forced the incompletion nonetheless. Dallas, the two biggest takeaways from this game as far as negatives go are, A, the run game needs to step it up, especially Tony Pollard. 15 carries for 30 yards is abysmal, awful. You're supposed to be the feature back in this offense. Can you handle the workload? It's not looking like as the year goes on and as the carry and as the hits go on, is Tony Pollard going to be the guy? The second biggest takeaway here for Dallas as far as a negative goes is the penalties. 7 pre-snap penalties, 11 penalties total in the game, 85 yards and penalty yards is awful. You got to clean that up. It seemed like every single time there was a pre-snap flag or there was a flag, mid-play, it's going to go against Dallas, and it's going to suffer either bringing their offense back a few yards or granting free first downs and free yards for the Chargers offense. Looking at the flip side, though, the Chargers weren't great penalty-wise either themselves. 9 penalties for 79 yards in the game. Both teams had 9+ penalties for 75+ yards and penalty yards. Sloppy game all around. Both teams also had 1 turnover. Dallas's 1 turnover didn't come on the offense. It came on the muffed punt when Jalen Tolbert was a little confused with did it hit Turpin? Did it hit one of the gunners? And he dove in, contacted the ball, making it a live ball, and the Chargers recovered in Dallas territory. Tough play, young receiver, not sure what was going on the play, and then just diving in there trying to make a play. It sucks. It's a tough play, but at the end of the day, I'm not all beat up about it. I'm more worried about Dallas's offense themselves not losing a fumble, Dak Prescott not throwing interceptions. The Chargers had one turnover as well, so the turnover margin was 1-1, and their turnover came on their last offensive possession when Stephon Gilmore jumped the route from Justin Herbert and intercepted it, sealing the game. Also talking about how close these stats are in comparison, the Chargers had the more time of possession with 30 minutes and 8 seconds. Dallas is 29:52. I mean, if you look down, same amount of plays, same amount of drives, same amount of third down conversions, time of possessions neck and neck, same amount of turnovers. These two teams played almost an identical game of football last night, and Dallas was just a touch better to come out victorious. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up was Micah Parsons was fairly quiet most of the night, had some pressures on Herbert. Biggest one came on that last drive, securing the first sack of the game and the only sack of the game for the Dallas defense, and then setting up the interception on the next play. So let's go ahead and get into the X factors I had listed in the preview video, and let's see how they performed in the game last night. The first one up here was Michael Gallup. Holy hell. Holy hell. I was watching the game last night with some buddies, and I was like, I will never forgive the Jones family for trading Amari Cooper and paying Michael Gallup. He signed a 5-year deal before last season, so he's only on year 2 of the 5-year deal. Let's look here. 10 targets in the game, 11 receptions, 10 targets in the game, 3 receptions for 24 yards. In comparison, Dak Prescott throwing to CeeDee Lamb was 7 of 7 passing. Throwing to Tony Pollard was 6 of 7 passing. Throwing to Brandon Cooks was 4 of 4 passing. Throwing to Jake Ferguson was 1 of 1 passing. Throwing to Michael Gallup was 3 of 10 passing. Now, if you want to call it blame on Dak Prescott for the throws, if you want to call the blame on Michael Gallup for not getting separation on some of these slant routes and these out routes that he just wasn't open on, he was completely clamped. Or do you want to blame Michael Gallup for dropping the clear touchdown on probably the best throw of the night from Dak Prescott? A little inner post right between the wickets at the goal line. Tough series. I believe that was the series where Dallas went for it on 4th and short in the red zone and didn't convert. Michael Gallup makes the catch there. They score a touchdown. Tough game for Michael Gallup. Great game for Dak Prescott, in my opinion. The biggest knock on Dak Prescott, in my opinion, was the throw to Tony Pollard late in the game that could have really sealed it if they got a touchdown on it. Had Murray Jr., the linebacker, following in coverage, and he got a little too cute, a little bit too much arc on the throw, forcing it out of bounds. I think he could have really roped it in there. The defender's back was to the ball, just never looked for the ball. I think he could have roped it in there and not made the throw as difficult as it was. But other than that, no concerns at all with Dak Prescott the rest of the game. Being the leading rusher for the team was huge, and also just the overall mobility in the pocket, not forcing himself backwards, not collapsing into sacks, but finding a way to work his way out of a collapsing pocket and to extend the play. And then probably the biggest play of the game was when he extended the play on 3rd and long, found Tony Pollard across the middle, broken tackle 60 yards later, and Dallas is in a great spot to go ahead and take a leading score in that possession. So overall, really good game. I thought the defense played well, obviously holding the Chargers to a season low in points with 17 after allowing 7 on their first possession. Really hankered down, really bunkered in, and really made Justin Herbert uncomfortable. I talked about it. Let's go ahead and continue, I guess. Our X factors here. I apologize. I got a little sidetracked there. Damone Clark for Dallas defense was my X factor. All he did was lead the team in tackles with 7 tackles, 1 QB hit on the game. I'd mentioned he needed to step up in this game with Leighton Vander Esch going down for several weeks to come. And he did just that. Played a great game last night, I thought. Let's go ahead and get to the X factors for the Chargers. I mentioned another number 2 receiver here with Joshua Palmer having to step up with Mike Williams going out. Can one of these Chargers receivers, Quentin Johnson, Josh Palmer, can one of them step up and help out Keenan Allen, who seems to be shouldering the whole load of the receiving game and the passing game for the Chargers? Josh Palmer last night, 4 receptions on his 7 targets, 60 yards. On the year, he's been averaging 5 catches for 40 yards, so 4 for 60 is a little bit better of a game. Had a big catch early in the first quarter, called back. And then Deron Bland made a great play on 4th and short on a speed route across the front of the end zone on 4th and short for the Chargers, forcing an incompletion. So 4 catches for 60 yards is fairly good for a number 2 receiver. I think you would take that most games, depending what team you are, obviously. If you're the Bengals with T. Higgins or Devontae Smith with the Eagles or Jalen Waddle with the Dolphins, etc., you might expect more than 60 yards. But for Josh Palmer in this situation, I would say he exceeded expectation last night. The defensive X factor I gave out was Khalil Mack. He had 4 tackles on the night. 2 of them were soloed, 1 sack, and that was on the first possession on that 3rd and 7. And then 1 tackle for loss as well later in the game. Fairly average game for Khalil Mack, but really started that first possession getting home on that 3rd and long, forcing Dallas to punt and giving the Chargers great field position. So let's get into the 5 keys to victory for Dallas to win and see how they went. Number one was convert in the red zone. As I mentioned, 2 of 4 in the red zone with touchdowns. With how bad they've been this year, I think they're only like 36% in the red zone and scoring touchdowns on 36% of their red zone drives. So give me 50% last night and we'll take it. As I mentioned, the run game was absolutely awful last night. So the fact that they scored twice out of the 4 red zone trips, you'll take it. Still not great, but progressively getting a little bit better. Number 2 here was give CeeDee Lamb the ball. He wears the number 88 for a reason. It's a club in Dallas, number 1 receiver. If you're proven, if they think you are the guy, you get that number 88. All he did was last night was 7 targets, 7 receptions, 117 yards. I don't understand watching the game. It's like he's 4 of 4 passing to CeeDee Lamb. He's 5 of 5 passing to CeeDee Lamb. It's like, why are you not looking his way more? Why does Michael Gallup have 3 more targets than CeeDee Lamb had last night? I don't understand it. You need to get CeeDee Lamb more involved because he came out after the game. Hey, I'm just like Jamar Chase. We 7-11. I am always open. And if you target him 7 times and he catches it 7 times, it seems like there's a little bit of merit to that claim. He's always open. You got to look for more Dak. And last night, 7 of 7 for 117 is pretty damn good. Number 3 here, I believe it was take care of the ball. I'm sorry, I'm just going all off of memory for these. It was take care of the ball regarding turnovers because turnover differential is a huge part of these games. Dallas's offense did take care of the ball. First possession, there was a little worry. Tony Pollard fumbled. Chargers returned it fairly, deep into Dallas territory. Came all the way back. Tony Pollard was ruled down by contact. So Dallas's offense didn't turn it over. Dak Prescott didn't make any bad throws that I thought were, interception worthy or risky throws in general. There's maybe 1 or 2 forcing it into Gallup, but nothing Jurassic as far as, double coverage or anything like that. So 1-to-1 turnover differential, Dallas's offense took care of the ball. Number 4 was get pressure on Justin Herbert with 4. He was pressured on 48% of his dropbacks, and he had a 41% completion percentage on those 48% pressure rate by Dallas. Great job getting home. They only got the 1 sack. Osa Odighizuwa might be the most underrated player on the defensive side of Dallas's defense. That man in the middle is awesome. The 5th and final key to victory here was shut down Keenan Allen. As I mentioned in the preview, he shouldered a lot of the load as far as the receiving for the Chargers to this point in the season. And with Mike Williams going down, can one of the other guys step up? Keenan Allen in the game was really slow in the first half, had the touchdown on their first drive, finished the game with 7 receptions on 11 targets for 85 yards and a touchdown. I don't know if you say you limit him if he goes for 7 for 85 and a tud. That's a pretty darn good game. But overall, my score prediction was 27-23 Chargers. Game would have gone under. Chargers would have covered. Game went under. Chargers don't cover. Dallas gets the win. I'm thrilled about it. Bye week, can rest, recover, get a little bit healthier, and they come out with a home game against the Rams, and Dallas has won their last 10 home games straight up. So you feel pretty good at home against the Rams in week 8. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment down below and check out the next videos. I won't have one coming out this week, but in 2 weeks, we'll have one coming out. Check out our game recaps and our game picks for this upcoming week for our main podcast and our other preview videos as well. Thanks a bunch. We'll catch you in the next one.